What is up, you sexy little YouTubey tinkers? It's time for another Punk Politics with me, A. Thompson. Sunni and Shiite Republicans will be at war with one another today as criminal cult leader and coin-op Donald Trump is bodied by his third indictment, this time in relation to his 2020 attempt to overturn the US election. That's right, guys, he's already been indicted twice before, but somehow still, this third time still seems like a shock to him. I mean, Donald Trump has been indicted as many times as my dad has been married, and yet both of them still react to both of those in exactly the same way. This is like Nazi persecution! Now, quick recap. The first indictment was the Mar-a-Lago raid, where he was charged with retaining sensitive documents and classified information. Then that was 40 counts, potentially facing a 20-year jail sentence. The second was the Stormy Daniels thing. That was around abuse of campaign finance money, and that was 34 counts. Now, this third one relates specifically to January the 6th, which was seen as the most egregious, vociferous attempt to deny a result since the last time my girlfriend showed me a pregnancy test. And these charges relate to Trump's role in denying that Biden had won that presidential race. It says these claims were false, and the defendant knew they were false. And, this is important, it says he absolutely had the right to contest the results as the other candidate, as the opposing challenger in a two-horse race. But that right to contest the result should fall absolutely within the parameters of state recounts and legally challenging the results. But both those tactics had been tried, and both of them had failed. Put simply, if you've challenged this stuff with recounts and lawsuits, and it's all been unsuccessful, you don't get to throw your toys out of the pram. There isn't some third route in the US Constitution. There's like, no, it says here, look, if somebody called Donald J. Trump loses the election and fails at the state recount and fails with various lawsuits, it says that he does get to storm the Capitol building and lead an army of cosplaying crayon eaters all over DC like the shit was Troy. Now, the three victims in this case, as it were, are the American people whose votes could have reasonably been overruled, Congress, which had one of its democratic ceremonies interfered with, and the United States itself, the electoral process of which Trump is alleged to have conspired to overturn in his favour. Now, I have to say, I do really like the idea of America legally praising itself and putting on record the idea that it's not okay to interfere with the country's electoral processes. I'm very much here for that. You know, like, guys, this indictment is serious because it is not okay to interfere with elections. Like, America as a geopolitical entity complaining about election interference. That is like a man in his car in a traffic jam complaining about traffic, you know? Like, you're already in this yourself. You're part of the problem. I bet people in Italy and Russia and Lebanon and Iraq and Afghanistan, I bet they can't believe their ears.
I don't believe your ears. Look at them.
All right.
They look stupid.
I know.
They stick out too much. You look ridiculous.
I know.
You will never be loved.
Anyway, so, yes, this latest indictment is a cause for celebration, but it's also a line in the sand for a geopolitical entity like America, for whom election interference hasn't historically troubled them that much. Like, couldn't you imagine a situation where, like, in 5 or 6 years' time, when they're talking about regime change in Syria again or something, like, Putin or Assad could credibly say, well, hang on, you jailed Trump for attempting coup. Will you be condemning yourselves to the naughty step for a 20-stretch tool? Anyway, much like the old adage where they say one person's crisis is another's opportunity, this hugely unedifying moment for the Republican Party is a fantastic opportunity for moderate conservatives to capture the narrative. And I cannot wait for them to do absolutely all. Like, I kind of feel sorry for them. You know, like, you listen to them trying to reason, trying to get their MAGA QAnon counterparts to see sense. But it's like, trying to drag screaming Take That fans away from the stage to go and open a current account. They're like Michael Jackson fans outside the courthouse to the second child molestation trial. They're deep in the Kool-Aid. No, they're like Indiana Jones when he goes bad in Temple of Doom after he drinks the blood. Except, weirdly, I think the inherent racism in most of them would probably outweigh the blood juice. Like they would drink the blood juice and go into that evil trance-like state. Then they realise they're running with hundreds of turbaned Indian guys and they just snap the fuck out of it. Like which runs deeper? The racism or the cultiness? We just don't know. But Trump has always seemed to boast of his cult-like popularity. He was reported to have once infamously said that he could shoot someone on Fifth Ave and he wouldn't lose one vote. To which the rest of us replied, well, yeah, they obviously adore you, like some sort of weird QAnon Jesus type figure. But honestly, could you do us all a favour? Could you just skip a few gears to the point where you lead these up to the top of the mound and you all die on a hill together? Anyway, this latest round of legal troubles comes as leaks are coming out from Team Trump that his campaign team are starting to experience funding challenges, with the near £300 walking testicle reported to have blown as much as $60 million of campaign finance money on legal fees. Like, how is that even legal itself? Like, how can you raise millions of dollars as a political candidate and that money isn't ring-fenced for balloons and flyers, and instead you get to funnel it into whatever weird and wonderful legal operations you're conducting to keep out of trouble? How is that legal? Like, isn't that exactly what got him the first indictment with Stormy Daniels? Like, imagine if he catches another indictment for this thing now. Like if he used campaign finance money to pay off the adult film star in 2016, and that lands him with an indictment, then to fight that legal case, he raises more money in 2023, but uses that to pay off these lawyers. Like, that is a levels deep Inception style scandal. One that, if we're honest about it, I think we're all a bit taken aback that someone like Donald Trump could keep a track of all that. I mean, maybe he can't. Maybe his lawyers can't either. I mean, it's not as simple as booking a hotel suite. And given some of his lawyers seem unable to do precisely that, I suppose it's no surprise that Rudy Giuliani himself is reported to have been named in this indictment as a co-conspirator. Anyway, what will the Republican Party do at this point? Their most popular candidate ahead of the Republican primaries is looking at almost certain jail time from one of his indictments. Meanwhile, their Plan B candidate is about as popular as Plan B contraception within those same circles. And this is all against the backdrop of an increasingly unstable United States, where the prospect of one of his supporter groups, MAGAs or QAnons or the Tea Party lot, at some point are likely to get so volatile. Like, I don't know, it doesn't seem too far-fetched to me that someone from one of these groups one day might forget their medication, pick up their legally acquired semi-automatic that they got free at a Happy Meal, and attempt to start a civil war because they think Donald Christ over here is being politically persecuted. So, the question I have for you, you cheeky little tinkers of a punk politics persuasion, is where do you think this is headed? Is the temperature going to continue to increase until America is at all-out civil war? Or will the moderate Republicans work with right-leaning media to attempt to cool the temperature? Do you think Trump will get off? And most importantly, why are so many Americans willing to hand over their hard-earned money as political donations to a guy who claims to be a billionaire? And that's why you think he should be president, because, I don't know, you think he can run a business well, so that must mean he could run the country well. So why do so many hand over their money to him as political donations, knowing it's going on legal fees? Well, he's a billionaire, so he's got his own money, so he's not compromised. He don't need to get in bed with any of the swamp. Okay, so why does he need your money then? You listen to me, you goddamn snowflake. We're not talking about my money, we're talking about his. Don't change the subject.
You'll never be loved.
You know what, Dad? I don't care. If I want to be loved, maybe I'll go and get married 3 times, yeah? How about that?
All right. It's beginning to sound like Nazi persecution,
Nazi persecution, yeah, every time.